Hi, I'm Dan with Big Brand Water Filter. In this video, we're going to talk about the new Hayward number 2 size bag filter housing. There's a lot of great new features in this housing that weren't in previous versions, and I want to go through some of those features with you and show you how this is going to save you money and save you time in your industrial or high volume application. We'll start with the lid right here, and you'll see what they did with these handles is they've raised them up so that if you unscrew this and turn it upside down, this air vent that's on here won't break off. And the air vent's actually a new feature. This is nice because when you change your bag and you first start up the housing, sometimes you get a lot of air in there and that can affect the operation further down line. So when you start up, you just open up the air valve here, bleed out the air. Once the air is gone, close that back down. There's also a hole on this one, so when you take this lid off, you can hang it on a hook on the wall to keep it out of the way. When you flip it upside down here, you can see how the arms are going to stop this from hitting. Now if you look at the inside of the lid, you see this protrusion here. This is a water displacement protrusion. What this is going to do is when we close the housing, this is going to create a void in here so that when you pull this cap off, water doesn't dribble over the sides, which was a problem on previous housings, and particularly more so if you're filtering chemicals or solvents or some other industrial fluid. When we look at the O-ring in here, it's standard with a Viton O-ring, and I don't know if you can see in the photo here, but there are slots here, so if there's water in this O-ring groove, it's going to drain back inside the housing. There's also slots you'll see on the housing. There's one in the back here, possibly another one on the other side, so that if someone tries to loosen the lid under pressure, your liquid, water, whatever it is, will dribble out down without bursting the lid off the top, so someone will know it's under pressure. Now I'm pulling the basket out from inside, and this basket is much thicker and heavier than anything else on the market. And I have the ring here that's going to hold the bag in. The ring is O-ringed also, and you'll see it's slightly tapered, so if it were to roll on the ground, dirt doesn't get on the O-ring, and the lid is actually tapered the same way to keep the threads clean. When I put this in, this is going to snap in, and then when we flip this over, this locks it in. So I'm going to pull this back out, and then the bag goes inside here. Now you can see that this basket is hinged. So what we can do is we can pull this top piece off and then unfold this basket into two pieces. This becomes an issue particularly for those of you who are running to higher differential pressures. If the bag gets above maybe 10 or 15 psi, sometimes the bag will start to push through the slots here, and it can be very hard to remove the used bag. So now I have the top off, and this is how the basket opens. So we can pull out the old bag, put it back together after this has been cleaned out, and then slide it back in. Like this. Now let's focus on the housing. You'll see that you have inlet and outlet connections on both sides of the housing, so you can plumb this in a loop configuration or a side in, side out on opposite sides. The inlet's at the top, the outlet's at the bottom. The nice thing with these is this union piece is the exact same union piece that's used on a Hayward number 2-inch ball valve. This is a 2-inch housing. It's also available in 3-inch and 4-inch. So if you were to over tighten this and break this piece, you can just replace this with one out of a Hayward ball valve. You wouldn't have to change the whole housing. On the front of the housing here, you'll see bosses here. This is for differential pressure gauges. We can set this up so that we have a differential pressure gauge that's going to notify you when the bag's full. And at the bottom, you'll see it's flanged so that you can bolt this housing to the ground. Now as I rotate this housing around, you'll see another connection here on the back. This can be drilled out. We need to know this when you order this, but if you're replacing one of the older Hayward bag housings with this and you don't want to have to change your plumbing, we would use this connection here. As we look at the front of the housing here, you'll see the pressure ratings of the housing also, and temperature. This housing is rated here for 150 psi at 70 degrees Fahrenheit, 240 degrees Fahrenheit. This is polypropylene. It's also available in PVC and CPVC. We have bags in both polypropylene and polyester to fit in this housing in 1, 5, 10, 20, and larger micron ratings. If you're thinking about getting an industrial bag filter housing, make sure you check out the Hayward No. 2 industrial housing.